I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you.
You heard the snake? It's time for a change in the White House, y'all. Liberty. Bring it. If you want the real deal,
how's it going, my Lankan? Good to see you. Hello, Deidre. How's it going? Kim. How's it going? Hello, Tim. Yep, we're doing late this week. We'll tell you why in just a minute. We'll tell you why in just a minute.
You wanna feel safe in your own backyard. One choice. Gotta play your trump card. I say Trump, you say hell when I say Trump.
Hey, Jeanette. Yes, I am on late. Hey, Eric. How's it going? Hey, Robert. How's it going? No, we're going to talk about it, Linda. We got a whole new plan. Hello, Mary from Ohio. Lee, I know. See, I've deliberately decided to go up against Hannity. He needs some competition. He needs some competition. How's it going, Janet? Jolanta, how's it going? Audra, how's it going? Good to see y'all. Good evening, John.
All stand strong with the art of the deal. If you like your rights and you love your guns, one choice, the only one. When I say Trump, you say
We're just doing our shares, y'all. How's it going out, Mario? How's it going, Melinda? We're just doing shares. How's it going, Carol? Yeah, it's late on the East Coast. Yeah, I bet you got no alert. Facebook is really like, what the heck is going on? Well, we're going to explain it. Then they'll know, just like you will. Then they'll know. Just like you will. Well, and if you can't see me, come in and go out. As always.
Are you a real patriot of the
We
USA?
are a real patriot of the USA.
Do you like having the right to bear arms? Protect your family? What about the ability to work a job? Have jobs available?
How's it going, Betty Ann?
You know who we need? His name starts with a D and ends with a Trump.
There we go. Finally, the page loads so I can do my shares. Good shares, you guys. Lots of good shares already. There we go. Yeah, leave and come back. Leave and come back. How's it going, Sherry? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are watching the one and only Trump Talk US live in D.C. with Suzzanne Monk, 20 minutes away from our nation's beautiful capital.
People are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country
Thank you, President
legally.
Trump. Thank you, President Trump. Legally. 24 minutes away from the White House. That was, of course, our President Trump, who lives in that beautiful White House. We have Chris McDonald representing Trump Talk US, the Monken in the room. Yes, we are on at a new, strange time right now. How's it going, Eric? We are in the process of actually moving Trump Talk Studios and me to a new location closer to the Capitol, actually closer. So in order to do that, I need to use my daylight hours. So we have shifted for the week, maybe 2 weeks. We're shifting the show time till not at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we're going to do the show. We'll be able to video load it up and then rebroadcast it again at 2. So if you miss it, you can always, first off, you can always catch the replay. Second off, I'm going to repost it at 2 o'clock, which, or hold a watch party at 2 o'clock. That's what I'll do. Also, the watch party will be at 2 o'clock of the show the night before, so that we can actually have the full daylight to move my house. So that's what that is. But we still got to get the news, and we still have to support and appreciate our sponsor, Send Meg. Very important. So if you are in the New England, New York, Ohio, and Ontario area, and you are in the need of any sort of package or special delivery whatsoever, what you want to do is go to sendmeg.com. Send Meg can provide professional, discreet, affordable, and quick service to anybody with any sort of delivery need whatsoever. Just call her and just go on sendmeg.com, send her a message, ask her, like, hey, can you move this? And she'll be like, yes. And you'll be like, great. And what's it cost? And she'll give you a low price, and you're going to be like, oh, that's awesome. And you're going to be happy I told you. And that's what that's about. So we appreciate her so much, of course. All right, let's talk about the news on the end. Across the world, unfortunately, we have things that affect us no matter where you are in the world, because they're so tragic, so unfortunate, so unnecessary, and yet outrageous at the same time. We're talking, of course, about the 290 people killed, 400 people wounded in multiple terrorist attacks, a coordinated, spread out terrorist attack at a variety of churches and brunching locations. People were Christians. I'm saying this word because apparently the mainstream media doesn't seem to appreciate this. Thank you, Chris. Doesn't seem to be able to say the word. Let's just, where Christians were celebrating Easter, one of the most important holidays, religious holidays to Christians. Now look, I understand why the left wants to continue to create this crazy talking. I understand what they want to do. They want to remove religion as an idea. That's what the progressives have always sought to do. They want to reject religion. Now, what I find ridiculous, though, is for some reason, I'll tell you the reason, because they stand with their fellow communists. For some reason, if that religion is Islam, let's just talk about it. If that religion is Islam, we have to be very, so sensitive. We have to be so concerned that someone might be experiencing some sort of Islamophobic experience, and they might be saying Islamophobic things. But if you literally insult, or ignore the deaths of Christians, not only is that appreciated, that is deliberately planned by the obvious globalist narrative. Who is giving this narrative? The question has to be asked, who decides? I'm sorry, you guys, I don't think it's Barack Obama. I think he's a puppet. I think they are bigger deciders right now, to be honest. So, Adele, listen to me. We're gonna agree on this. We're gonna agree on this. If you say you have a religion, then be a religion. Then you're a religion. And I'm not one to judge your religion. You're not one to judge my religion. However, we get to judge each other on what kind of human beings we are to one another. And that's ethics. Ethics has nothing to do with religion. So if your faith causes your ethics to be bad, for example, if you're like, well, I believe in this so-and-so religion, this is my religion, and my religion says I should go around killing people, I'm going to be like, your religion is unethical, and it has some real problems, and you're not cool people, and I don't have to like you or your religion, because that's humanity. That's real life. So, that somewhere there is a big brother figure deciding that we're all going to call them Easter worshipers, which, by the way, let's talk about the history of Easter, okay? Easter has pagan origins. the ceremony of Easter itself, where the eggs and the bunny rabbit and the fertility symbols all come from previous religions that were competing for space in Europe. And the church, at the time, very linked with the Church of England, the church was like, we should incorporate some of these rituals into our church, and then the people around here, the pagans, might come to the church. It was a marketing campaign, and an effective marketing campaign, because there are useful things about religion that is why people across history, across time, have found ways to come to shared faith-based beliefs and then come together in some sort of ceremonial or fellowship situation. Human beings like fellowship, and we best create fellowship when we are sharing deeply held values. Those can be spiritual values, they can be civic values, but this coming together of people is not only healthy, but it is inherently human. And often we call it religion. So we're just going to have to agree Christianity is a religion, Islam is a religion. It's a religion. Doesn't mean your religion is cool. It doesn't mean it doesn't have problems. But what is unfortunate is we live in a world where the media will say the name of one religion. Remember when they wouldn't say radical Islamic terrorist? Remember when we're just like, just say the words. Just say radical Islamic terrorist. And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. And Donald Trump would get up there and he would say, I am talking about radical Islamic terrorism. And we're like, yeah, that word they're not saying now is Christian. When unfortunately the attacks were specifically targeting people of a Christian faith or who celebrate the Western holiday as it stands on Easter Sunday, as is a tradition across the world. So there were at least there were 24 suspects. Let's give you some other facts on the situation. 24 suspects were arrested. They did find a stash of up to 87 bomb detonators. They had a bomb blow up on Monday while they were defusing it. So there were additional explosive devices that did not go off. Obviously, the attack was conducted by suicide bombers at predominantly churches and brunch places where people were eating their Easter brunch. Now, the problem is that they had several reports and warnings in the government. In fact, right now the government is playing apology. How's it going, Phyllis? Oh, what does pagan mean? Veronica, you got to look it up. Just what we often refer to religions that existed outside of the Christian religion's influence as pagan. It often means but it specifically is referring to predominantly a range of Celtic beliefs and other beliefs in Northern Europe. Pagan. It's history. It just is what it is. How's it going? Yes. And Ralph, this is the problem. What Ralph says, how's it going, Oneida, is exactly the problem we have. How quickly they are to attack Christians. We all remember the poor kid from Covington High School who got slandered by the media. He's going to get rich from it, and I hope he goes to a great school and becomes a huge success, and then finds a way to, parlay that into awesomeness. Not sometimes a lot of money at that age can. We hope for the best. Yeah, and the airport. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Kim. Detonators found at the airport as well. So we know what this attack is about. We know who they're attacking. And my concern is this, that we are fighting, not we, the modern Western world. Over here in America, we're not really fighting a holy war. It pops its ugly head up over here and there. We have terrorist attacks. We have obviously radical Islamic people throwing children off of balconies. We have problems. I'm not saying we don't have, we're starting to see the problems that we have. But outside of here, outside of America, the waging of an actual holy war against the West and against Western peoples and those who are Western influenced, including at this point Saudi Arabia, and the ISIS, Iranian funded these organizations of radical Islam who are committing that war has been happening. There is actually already, and they consider it a holy war. Whether we consider it a holy war here in, modern metropolises, it's not a holy war. People can believe what they want as their, it's okay to have different religions. It's just some people who are doing some things to some other people. And that's the unfortunate situation, is we don't have recognition of what's actually happening. And so we've seen that in the way the news is reporting it. And in this situation, because that recognition didn't happen at the level of the intelligence of the government, this attack, which potentially could have been, now from the looks of what the intelligence fail information is coming out, could have been prevented. And these lives and these wounded individuals who have had their lives changed forever could have been with us today, unfortunately. So the intelligence failure is what happens when we say Easter worshipers and we don't say Christians, because it is these blinders, it is these progressive blinders that we start to put on that prevent us from actually looking at the situation as it stands. We would be looking at churches as targets if we understood that what was happening is a holy war against Christian targets. If you said, what are the jihadis fighting? Well, they're fighting Jews and Christians. Okay. So we're going to want to protect things, obviously, and it would make a lot more sense and we would save a lot more lives, but unfortunately that's not what happened in Sri Lanka. So we, of course, pray for the families that, once again, due to political correctness, have to suffer. It's just tragic. Hopefully it won't continue. Hopefully we'll be able here in the United States to call out the progressives for what they are, and may that incite a movement of removing this whole ideology, this whole multicultural. It's okay if you live only under your own laws and systems. And right next to me on my block, multiculturalism. You don't have to assimilate, but we do have to live side by side in the same country. Hopefully we will stop that, because we need to have everyone at least assimilate to this. I don't care what you do with the rest of your life. I don't care what religion you practice. I don't care what sexuality you practice. I don't care what you put into your body. I don't care any of these things. Okay? I first care, do you agree that we're all living by this? The Constitution. If we can start from, all right, we all agree this. This is what we're trying to make sure works. If we start from there and then you mind your own business, we are literally one of the freest places, in fact, the freest place on earth. I know they do love to do economic freedom studies. We're not as economically free as other countries, but we are culturally freer than any country, because we have the premise that we have these nice little set of rules, and then everything else is none your business. And I'm a grown person that can have my own life. And that's America. That's America. Yeah, I know the liberals are the worst at, I agree. And, Ralph, it's unfortunate because I want for my liberal friends, although I don't have any anymore because they've all gone crazy and communist. Something has happened. There is something about the liberal brain that must be receiving some sort of ray, because they've all turned into communists. And unfortunately, no matter you try to explain it to them, communism is actually the opposite of what they believe. If what they believe in is freedom, and they want liberty, and they want to be able to do whatever they want. They don't want anybody to be oppressed. Then what you're looking at is constitutional capitalism, not democratic socialism. Democratic socialism means you give up your right to the state, and they just give you food and shelter and basic needs, and you are now their bitch. That's what that basically means. So I don't know why you would want that if what you wanted is freedom. And if you want freedom, obviously you don't want that. But somebody needs to explain to these kids that's what it is. So, and it's hard enough to understand all the details about what the news is going on, because of course we see even now, we'll talk about this for a minute. Even now, the Democrats, Elijah Cummings in particular, but a few others, have started to talk further about impeachment. Now, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in politics in my life. I'm calling it the stupidest thing I've ever seen in politics in my life. Actually, having lived through the impeachment trials of William Jefferson Clinton. You know Bill Clinton, the rapist. Raped my friend Juanita Broaddrick. You might remember her. She wrote a book about it. It's called You Should Put Some Ice on That. A story about Juanita Broaddrick surviving being raped by Bill Clinton. But when they were impeaching him over lying basically to the government, not being a rapist, but lying about being a rapist, when they were in the process, those were actual things. And that's actually what I think many of us were frustrated at the time with Bill Clinton, is that if he was actually engaging in the activities that they were talking about, this is the problem. So he lied and said he was going with it, not going with his girlfriend, with his side piece, when he actually was going with the side piece. Okay. But you have a side piece in the Oval Office in a way that could severely compromise government information. I mean, how's it going? Oh yeah, West Coasters can tune in. How's it going? Everybody, Susan Walsh, one of our great patriots across the country and fighting super hard for the state of California. Susan, you're the main reason I think California should stay. Because, some of us out here east of California, which is everyone, we sometimes go, oh my God, California, maybe we should just let it go. Just float it off into the sea. And I'm like, But there are some great patriots. And when I say that, I mean people like Susan Walsh and especially you. So just a little note on my good friend, keep up the good work. So Adele asks a perfectly logical question. How do you impeach a Republican president for a crime that was committed by the Democrats? Correct. Adele so perfectly said, Veronica, you should get to know Susan. She's great out there. The problem is not what Trump did. The problem is not Trump's relationship with the Russians, because there was no relationship with the Russians. The problem was not Trump's attempt to obstruct the investigation, because in fact, Trump did not attempt to obstruct the investigation whatsoever. In fact, he kind of let it go on ridiculously for almost too long. I know how many of you, come on, we'll be honest, how many of you were in the crowd of Trump should just fire Mueller? I had some friends who literally every time they saw me, like, Suzzanne, Trump should just fire Mueller. I'm like, I trust the president. Okay, but he's messing up. He should just fire Mueller. Okay. So there were many people in that group. There were many people who were, but in fact, he did not do that. Why? Obstruction. Now they have literally next to nothing in regards to obstruction. They have nothing. Zero. There was no obstruction because he let everything happen and continue to happen. So, yet they still continue to pound the drum about a potential impeachment. Now, here's what's ridiculous. And really what we all should be outraged about is beyond these idiots, they've tried to pass articles of impeachment probably like 6 or 7 times now in the House. They don't have the votes. All of the seats in Congress are up. Okay. Only some of those districts are in blue districts where you don't have any chance of being a challenger. And the American people are just not, there's no crimes. You can't just impeach him because you don't like him. That's not a thing. But what it's really tragic, and this is what I think we need people to start coming together around this issue. The fact that you can even say that we have congressmen and women that can still suggest impeachment suggests that they don't understand our little friend here. And the rules of impeachment, as they're listed in our little friend here, which require high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, when it comes to, yes, high crimes and misdemeanors, I agree. Susan Nunez has the information on that. And I suspect that the perpetrators of the high crimes and the misdemeanors, I don't even think Trump has a parking ticket. If he had a parking ticket, don't you think we'd all know about it? So, there were no high crimes and misdemeanors. But on the Democrat side, there were in fact high crimes and misdemeanors. They in fact falsified information to the FISA court, used an intentionally and falsely created opposition research hit piece, because it wasn't even research, because the things didn't happen. But they put together this hit piece, this fake research. Then they got mad when their emails got hacked. And so now, of course, here we are today with, of course, Julian Assange awaiting his extradition trial on May 2nd. And Chelsea, or Bradley, whichever you prefer, is being continued to be held in jail. She has been in jail since March 8th because she refused to testify to a grand jury in regards to the WikiLeaks information that she, or technically he at the time, leaked to perhaps Julian Assange. So obviously this March 8th arrest, it's sometimes great to backtrack what's actually happening. And I think in this case we can do that because you can see this March 8th arrest of Chelsea Manning in regards to her refusal to testify to a grand jury in regards to the WikiLeaks suggests that they have been preparing this whole time for the release, for the release of Julian Assange, for the arrest of Julian Assange, and for his obvious then eventual extradition to the United States. So, trust the plan, maybe, because it's obviously been in place the whole time. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about Trump, of course, is not going lightly into these latest attacks and is suing Elijah Cummings because the Democrats have sought to subpoena his personal accounting records from one particular company, a company called Mazars USA. And so the Trump organization and his attorneys are now suing Elijah Cummings specifically as the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. Why? The committees are out of control, obviously. But suing him back. So they're not gonna be happy. The left is not gonna be happy. They're going to have yes, Facebook is not, see, it's like, oh my gosh, we found you. How dare you go on in the night? Of course. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Ukraine and what's going on over there. I'm kind of amused by this latest news in the Ukraine about the elections. A comedian, a professional comedian and actor, he's really more of a comedic actor, to be honest. I mean, as someone who is a comedian, this guy is a comedic actor, but it's all right. It's all right. We're happy nonetheless. Volodymyr Zelensky has won the election in Ukraine. He is the prime minister, I believe they have in the Ukraine. Russia is happy. And so this is what the opposition obviously pushed back against, was if Russia is happy, then he must be a bad choice. But as you know, we've talked about it on this show with Tim Rush. We talked about it a little bit when William Benny was interviewed earlier or later, the end of last week. And we talked about this relationship that we actually have with Russia and the relationship that Russia has with the globalist New World Order. And what we're finding again and again is there is more going on than meets the eye, particularly when it comes to keeping Russia and China and the United States from cooperating, even on things that are mutually beneficial and that we would want to cooperate on. Obviously, the deep state, and by the deep state I mean the deep global state, the group of individuals that seek to create a one world governance, they do not want strong nations. They don't want a strong Russia. They don't want a strong Europe. They don't want Britain to Brexit. They don't want Saudi Arabia to go around actually being able to defend itself. They want strong Muslim nations because they, as communists, as global collectivists, stand with their communist brothers, radical Islam. That's just, the facts are the facts. Radical Islam is communist, and so is the New World Order. They're both, they are seeking the same goal, to crush private property ownership and national sovereignty and make a one world government under their set of laws. In the case of the mullahs, that set of laws is Sharia law. In the case of the globalists, that set of laws is global communism or an oligarchy where they are in power and everyone else is subservient to their power. So, to be fair, it's the exact position the imams put themselves in when they say, oh, well, we're just winning it over for Allah. But by the way, we tell you what Allah says. And if we say that this is what he's down with now, that's what's up. So, we're all servants of Allah, but some servants are more equal than other servants, to quote your animal farm. And therein lies the problem. So, in my mind, what we've seen in the Ukraine over the last several years, particularly with the interference of John McCain, you have to wonder if John McCain and Mitt Romney, by the way, Susan, thank you for bringing him up, if these folks want something really badly, aren't you just suspicious of it already? And now looking back in time, when you saw John McCain working so hard, fighting so hard against whatever was going on with Russia and the Ukraine, and they were so pressurous about how we should be totally attacking Russia and getting ready to go to war on the side of Ukraine. You recall the beating of the war drums, John McCain, Russia, Ukraine, the Georgia, South Ossetia. We recall the situation. I went through it myself thinking this is not good. Russia is encroaching. We should not let them encroach. And I agree. It occurs to me that encroaching, taking land is probably not something we want to let countries go around doing. But is that the situation? Is that entirely what happened? And if John McCain wanted it so badly, there had to have been some problem and some concern. And what we're finding now is the division that is being sowed globally by the toxic relationship between the Ukraine and Russia is, I believe, becoming indicative of the division we see with the globalists in Russia, or the globalists and other nationally proud, nationally centric nations. Not the nations who are like, oh, sure, we'll just join coalitions and be the EU and give up our identities. But, Russia, China, etc. And so this is what I think Tim Rush talks about all the time, and what he has maybe a little bit more enthusiasm for than I do, but we certainly should be able, and we saw even with Hillary Clinton, I think this whole Russian collusion narrative was an attempt to create an enmity relationship, an enemy feeling, a tense, distant relationship between us and Russia. And so now that you see the Russian government, they're excited to have this new guy in office. I have to suspect that John McCain would not like this. And if John McCain were alive today, he would be like, that guy is a joke. He's like literally a joke. He's a comedian. And if John McCain hated him, I would want to like him. So the ghost of John McCain is telling me that this guy is no good for Ukraine. And so I'm excited to see where we go forward. A citizen, an average individual who has now been elected prime minister in Russia, and a comedian, so I'm told. So representing comedian, funny people everywhere, sir. Thank you, and may your country prosper under your rule. All right. Let's talk about the next thing that I think is going to make everyone start to lose their lids, because I'm starting to see the buzz about it when it comes to the mainstream media, and that is the Iran oil sanctions ending. And they've already tried to entirely overblow that issue by talking about it as, oh, Trump has a few hands in his back pocket. How's it going, Denise? There's still he could still play his tricks in the international oil market. Okay, what tricks would those be? Would those be the tricks of turning America into a net exporter of oil, when prior to this presidency, we have almost every other presidency tried to resist exporting oil, if at all. In fact, often we've had Republicans literally say, no, we got to save all our oil. In the past, we've had crazy Republicans talking about how we have to save all the oil for ourselves. The Democrats are like, we got to leave it in the ground. And the Republicans like, no, we got to take it out of the ground, but American oil for America. Like, we can't sell it to other people. Are you crazy? That's stupid. We need to save it for ourselves. And that ridiculous notion, which has nothing to do with the actual market principles that we actually operate on in what we call the oil market, kept America from being able to release its economic energy potential for a great number of years. You know it, I know it. We all lived through it. Now we live in a world where President Trump is proudly presiding over an America which is the number one producer of oil and a net exporter of oil, consuming less than we actually export. So we're making more than we need by more than 50%, and we're able to export that to other nations, which, by the way, is great for countries like Ukraine and other countries in Eastern Europe that might be beholden specifically to countries like Russia for heat. We all know that Russia, for a very long period of time, basically held Europe hostage when it comes to heating oil in the winter, because it gets cold in Northern Europe and Eastern and Northern Europe. And you need to heat your home. And in order to do that, you need heating oil. And in order to get the heating oil, well, it came from Russia. And so if Russia decided to just cut it off, as sometimes they would do in engaging in geopolitical negotiations with one or more European countries, or threaten to cut it off, and then it causes all the chaos. So we, by being able to become an exporter and effectively export our energy resources, producing more than enough for ourselves and providing resources to other countries, we have undermined the influence of countries like, of course, Russia, other oil-producing countries, the OPEC countries. We've certainly put a dent in the ability of OPEC to control the oil markets. And, of course, I think most importantly right now, considering the terrorist attacks we started the show with, Iran. I know, Angela. We really do. He's a very intelligent man, and he certainly looks at things from a lot of angles at the same time. Which is one of the reasons I think he's great in the energy market. We're doing so well with energy because it is something that you just have to understand on multiple levels. You have to understand how you get the energy. You have to understand how you sell the energy, and you have to understand who needs the energy in order to sell it. So you gotta understand business. Oil is business, and if you understand how that works, providing a product that people need, particularly providing a product that people can use and will want to use and can continue to use, and it is ultimately better for the environment all across the board. Because unfortunately, Earth Day today, and as always, the left loves to tout their crazy Earth Day as if somehow one day, picking a day a year and going, oh, we're going to turn the lights off today, and I am not using anything plastic at all, isn't really doing anything to save the Earth. In fact, what you're actually doing, by pretending you're saving the Earth, but doing absolutely nothing, you are setting up everyone for having false information about what saves the Earth and what harms the Earth. And so we're likely to continue to let things happen that are harming the Earth. At the same time, stop doing things that might have been actually helping the Earth and start doing things that are worse for the Earth merely because of some cultural idea that we've come up with. The plastic bag ban being the most obvious example. Why do we have the plastic shopping bag? Does anybody remember before the days of the plastic shopping bag? Do you recall when we had the paper bag? And it was a good paper bag, but sometimes, especially in the summer when your hands would get sweaty, you'd roll up the top of the bag and you hold the bag and you try to carry the bag. How's it going, Jean? And you'd just get sweaty and the paper would start to get soft and the bag would rip. Of course, as the paper got thinner. And then, of course, as Gwen says, we all went on this, oh my gosh, we have to save the trees. We have to save the trees. We're cutting down too many trees to make the paper. Now, I always said, you know what? We could just grow industrial hemp and make paper out of that. And that would be a renewable crop we could just keep growing over and over. And it has many other product uses and environmental benefits. And then we can have even much better paper than we make from the pulp of trees. But everyone was like, oh, Suzzanne, that's illegal. Until, of course, Donald J. Trump, who signed the Farm Bill and made that a reality. Now we can actually do that. So we were all upset about the paper, right? And so we had the plastic, because what happens with the plastic bag is it is using a far less carbon footprint than the paper bag. The paper bag cuts down a tree. You usually require some sort of cleaning chemical on the paper itself, not to break it apart. Then the energy produced in the manufacturing, the creating of the paper, the folding of the bag, the gluing of the bag, and the energy required in the shipping of the bag, which is one of the most obvious features of the plastic bag. I can ship in, say, this much space right here. I could ship maybe 100 paper bags. Let's just 100 paper bags right here. I could ship easily 1,000 of the plastic bags in the same amount of space, maybe more. So I can send 10 times more bags per truck of bags that has to get shipped out wherever it's going. And that savings made the carbon footprint of the plastic bag much smaller. And so we went with that. We're like, it doesn't cut down trees. Now, of course, people are going back to paper bags, although some people are frustrated with that. Now we've gone with these durable use bags, which actually are now spreading disease because people keep using the same bag over and over, and they don't ever clean the bag, and the bag gets moldy, and then it makes your food bad. So, yeah. And Kim, it keeps people happier. Yes, William, we are on late. We're going to be on late for the next 2 weeks while I'm in the process of moving. So, oil, where do we all start from this? Oil, which produces wonderful plastics that we're talking about, is one of the most environmentally sound solutions. The Americans being able to control significantly the supply of oil has wrestled the world out from under control of OPEC, which is a wonderful thing. There's now far more market flexibility, and it allows us, we are now moving towards, over the next few short period of time, all of Iran. Iran is going to be out of the oil business in a very short period of time, because the Trump administration is imposing full oil sanctions on the nation of Iran. All of the buyers, as we talked about, like last week, I think we talked about it in the middle of last week, Iran, there were a few countries that had waivers because Iran was the only place they were buying oil from. They have now found other oil markets, some of them being the United States, and are now buying. Awesome, Denise, thank you. Yeah, if you don't wash them, then you got to keep up on it. I don't wash. I just am happy to use the plastic ones because I reuse the F out of those plastic ones. You know what I'm talking about. I reuse every single one of them. Each one of them is getting at least 2 or 3, sometimes 3 uses. So, now what we're seeing, obviously, is the oil sanctions going into place. This will cut off the rest of its money from the oil markets. Now, unfortunately, what we saw, the reason Iran has been able to be so effective going forward over the last few years in the field of terror, continuing to spread fields of terror across the world, funding terrorist organizations, and openly admitting that they do so. We're not just saying, oh, hey, Iran must be the bad guy. Thank you, Erica. We're not saying, it's Iran. They're the bad guy of everything. Iran is like, we are the bad guy. We are paying. We are paying for this. Look at Iran. We are proud. They're proud. They're proud they're paying for the terror. They openly admit it. So it's not us. It's the fact that Iran admits it. And what are they paying? What are they paying for it with? Well, our money. Our money. Yeah, the pallets and pallets of money, the $4 billion, all of this money. So that's running out. That money is running out. And now we're getting to where the sanctions will now take place. And hopefully that will put some pressure on Iran. With their fight already present in Saudi Arabia. See, paper bags, great. This is what I'm saying, Loretta. I like the market. And the market says you can get plastic bags, you can get paper bags. The real thing is paper inside of plastic. Do you love that? That's like my favorite. You want the bag to be sturdy? Paper inside of plastic. Inside of plastic. Yeah, the Moroccans make some good rugs too, Ronald. The Moroccans make some good rugs too. I agree on that. Unfortunately, Iran is a beautiful country that, much like the city of Chicago, was once a fantastic location. It used to be very modern. Women wore bikinis. They went to school. They held jobs. Jews held positions in government. It was truly cosmopolitan. In other words, people living together comfortably, respectfully, under the same rule of law, under the Shah. It was a completely different country. Go look at the pictures. Go look at the pictures. It's factual. Unfortunately, it is under the Shah. It is under radical Islam. And this is why I make the distinction so often, that we have seen Iran become the oppressive country that it is today and the purveyor of terror, trying to impose that oppression on the rest of the world. And that's the unfortunate situation. So we've come full circle, you guys. And I think that's usually a good sign that you have done a good hour when you have gone all the way around. We've talked, of course, about the Sri Lankan attacks. We've talked about what the Democrats are crazy and doing. We've talked about the latest update on Chelsea Manning and the Assange WikiLeaks issue. And, of course, we have come back around to Ukraine, Iran, the oil issue, and President Trump's obviously sound decisions to attempt to deal with Iran, to handle them, because thank you, President Trump, this is the kind of terror we see when nations like Iran are allowed to spend money and facilitate terror. So, I think we should have gone with the Green Revolution and actually supported the uprising of the Iranian people so that they could have taken back their country. That would have been great. But Obama didn't want that because Obama wanted the radical Muslims in charge, not the secular Muslims who let the women be in bikinis. And anyone who chooses burqa women over bikinis, there's something seriously wrong with you, sir. If there's any evidence that Barack Obama is gay, it is because he would support Iranian women in burqas over Iranian women in bikinis. And that's just a sacrilege to women everywhere. To the beautiful William Shatner is rolling over in his luxury apartment right now because he's not dead. But if he were dead, he'd be rolling over in his grave. And that is our show for today, folks. We will be back again 9 p.m. Tomorrow night. This show will be watched in a watch party. Yes, Bruva, you are absolutely so correct. You need something. Trudeau has problem. Trudeau has real problems. Starting with he can't keep his eyebrows glued on. I mean, if your leader can't even keep their eyebrows glued on, you're probably going to need to elect somebody else. So all I can say is, get up, get out there, get involved, Canada, get involved in your elections. And certainly there is a movement across the world of taking our country back, taking our countries back and making them what they were meant to be. And what America was meant to be was this beautiful melting pot. Yes, Ronald, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Iranian women do look great in bikinis. And that's what America has always been about. America's been about, we love all different kinds of people. We think everybody has different beauty and culture and art and awesomeness. And we would like to see your women in bikinis. If you could. Polish people, Russian people, Swedish people. You guys got some good bikinis. Iranian people. Wherever your women are from. Africa, Nigerian women, Ghanaian, Ivory Coast, the Jamaican women, wherever you're at, we would like to appreciate your women in bikinis. That's America right there. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful way to live. Free and under the Constitution. If you're not into the bikinis, if you don't want to go get a bacon burger afterwards, if all of these things offend you while I walk my dog, maybe don't come to America where that's what we love. We love beef and bacon and barking and bikinis. It's just a fact. I want to, of course, thank our sponsor, SendMeg.com. If you are in the New England, New York, or Ohio and Ontario. Oh, see, Canada, we can help you out too. You should go to SendMeg.com. She will be able to help you with any of your package delivery, emergency delivery. Maybe you need a special part. You need some sort of medical issue, medical product moved. You need a special letter. You have to get that precious collector's coin to your Uncle Jeffrey across the country so it will complete his collection when he goes on Antiques Roadshow. I don't know what you're doing, but you can call Meg Go and she'll be able to help you deliver it. So whatever it is, please do reach out to our sponsor. Of course, as always, the show is brought to you by President Nutcracker, PresidentNutcracker.com. If you have Nutty Democrats, you know what you need? You need a President Nutcracker. And you can get yours at PresidentNutcracker.com if you order him. Of course, right now, the special is you get a free Trump 2020 flag and a Keep America Great Again hat with your order. Nutcracker flag hat. $99, free shipping each one. One of 1,000 made. You all know about the President Nutcracker. Such a great little guy. And every patriot who loves the president should at some point get yourself a President Nutcracker. We will be back tomorrow, you guys, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, pray for me for my packing and my sanity and my low back. Because I'm older than I used to be. Because I need to now, instead of building the wall, I need to unbuild the wall. And that's a little
And
exhausting.
people are going to come into our country, but they're going to come into our country legally. They're going to come in legally. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be built. It's not even, believe it or not, it's not
Very
even
funny,
a
Ronald.
difficult
Good
thing
luck
to
with
do.
that. Good luck with that. You might want to pat her down. I'm just saying. For Bomb Fest.
Build the wall, build the wall.
We are currently shipping in the 230s. 230 of the numbers we are currently shipping in. So if you get your order today, you are still in the first third of the collection.
Like I was a teen, I knew that he was gonna go and build himself a team. Got a first class ticket to get on the Trump train. Putting up videos on the book and on the gram. Syrian refugee challenge, then I was the man. A million views and running, and I do it cause I can. I'm just trying to do my part to make the country great again. But back to the policy. Donald Trump's are hard to beat. Listen for a minute, man, it really ain't too hard to see. America's
See you
a
tomorrow.
party, inherent with
Until then, this is your girl,
camaraderie.
Suzzanne Monk.
Apparently the parents ain't been
Jumping
parenting,
up.
it bothers me. Build a wall.